I think this is the big question in crypto land right now. Is Ethereum a commodity or is Ethereum a security? And therefore, will there one day be an ETF? That's the fundamental question on the table in crypto land. You agree?
Oh, you're the one that's out there asking the questions. All I would say is, to me, the fundamental question is how do we ensure that the American investor is protected? And right now, they're not getting the required or needed disclosures. And the intermediaries in the center of this rather centralized market generally are conflicted and doing things we would never allow the New York Stock Exchange to do. The New York Stock Exchange is not allowed to trade against the investors.
Okay, but let me ask, when you look at the headlines today around what the SEC is doing and what your priorities are, it's hard to tell how much of your focus today is on the stock market writ large versus the world of crypto and trying to figure out the future of Ethereum and other things. How do you see it?
Well, I see it this way. We oversee a $110 trillion capital market. About half of that's the stock market. Half, as you might know, is the bond markets and other markets. Crypto is a small piece of our overall markets, and but it's an outsized piece of the scams and frauds and problems in our markets, because without prejudging any one token, much of this field is non-compliant with the protections of our securities laws. And so thus, you end up with like an outsized ratio of journalist questions and crypto journalists to market cap.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And we have Gary Gensler's back. I told you guys the distraction is about to happen. Anytime Gary Gensler is on CNBC, a few weeks later, we have a distraction. And again, what does he say? Still has illegal activity going on. And the stock market, they don't have to worry about that. They don't trade against their investors. Guys, what do hedge fund guys do? Gary Gensler is there just to kick the can down the road. Gary Gensler and Janet Yellen are the NWO chess pieces, the landers in the fourth industrial revolution. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And Gary Gensler still talking about crypto scams and fraud, and much of the field is non-compliant. And he's saying that because crypto is going to be used to take down these small and medium-sized banks. And once the small and medium-sized banks get taken down, small businesses are taken down. And that's going to open the door for all this automation, whether robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy. And we have the old Google CEO, Eric Schmidt. Speaking of AI, and remember when he was there, Ray Kurzweil was there. You know how many videos I've done on him when it comes to technology. And I also wrote about him in the NWO book. And we have Eric Schmidt stating that AI is underhyped. And we know that is a fact, because AI, robots, algorithms, and drones are about to take over this economy, put the sheep out of work. And it's happening right in front of their eyes, but they stay distracted on things that don't matter. And he said this is not 10, 15, 20 years away. It's going to be here in 5 years, and it happens in stages. And who tells you that? That's right, the Crypto Teacher. I give you the truth, nothing but the truth. Yes, the truth hurts, but it sets you free. And because I give you the truth, you're going to hate me. But that's okay. I'm just a watchman on the wall. Guys, I tell you all the time, this is a plan. It moves in phases. It takes time. But I've done so many videos on the technology. Even though this technology is ready 20 years ago, they just need that crisis to move it on in. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Jim Cramer says the Fed needs to cut rates because the economy is running out of gas. And that's exactly what they wanted to do. Remember, this is a fragmented world. They have to destroy this whole economy in order to give the excuse to bring in the machines. And that's how we know that crisis is right around the corner. And that's why I tell you, have fun this year, but get in the lab. Still get yourselves prepared. And we have Drunken Miller on CNBC. And we know he's one of the people like Blackstone, BlackRock's Larry Fink stated in the United States we're going to go a whole decade with no growth. And part of that reason, because the United States dollar, the world reserve currency, that's going to end. And we're going to be on a level playing field. The dollar's not going anywhere, but it's definitely going to lose its power. And Drunken Miller speaks about Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen pumping all the money in the system. But guys, he sounds like 2008. Let the government get out the way and let the private sector take over. And what happened in 2008? That's right, you received a whole lot of consolidation. That's why we have monopolies again in America. 2008 was a setup of everything that's going on now. I know it sounds like a movie, but remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. Out of this crisis, we had Bitcoin come to life. And at the same time, you had all this technology barreling down. And the Hegelian dialectic was played perfectly. Bitcoin was supposed to get rid of the banks, but if you look at all the money, all the investing, it came from the big banks and big corporations. They were funding this from the beginning. And yes, this is definitely a movie plot. This is a blockbuster. Now they're going to use the very crypto that was supposed to get rid of the banks. Now going to give the banks even more power and get rid of the small and medium-sized banks that fund small business that runs America. So the whole global economy is going to fall in the laps of the central banks. Yes, you can't make this stuff up. But when you have a sleeping nation that sits on social media all day, turns on the television and watch sports, it's unbelievable. You have grown men that are taking 2-3 hours out their day to watch sports as the country is crumbling. It is unbelievable. We are playing out the Roman Empire script by script. And what we've learned from history is that no one learns from history. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I think we're all trying to understand, really almost, if you could stack rank all of these models and all of these companies for us. I think we're all trying to understand who's ahead, who's behind, where does Google stand relative to Meta with Llama, to OpenAI and Microsoft. How do you see all of this?
Well, first, I hate to tell you, but I think this stuff is underhyped.
Underhyped.
Not overhyped. Because the arrival of intelligence of a non-human form is really a big deal for the world.
And you think it's here?
It's coming, it's here, it's about to happen. It happens in stages. If you look
how quickly, though? I mean,
well, we used to say 20 years, now within 5.
Within 5.
And the reason is the scaling laws for these systems are continuing to go up without any loss or degradation of power. So what happened was OpenAI in this generation invented this category. With their Microsoft partnership, they're going to spend $30 to $100 billion on this. Google invented it and then was a late arrival, now is in the game. I'm assuming the numbers are similar. You have other entrants that are incredibly interesting. So, for example, Meta has just released a 400 billion model called Llama 3 in open source form, which allegedly is as close to GPT-4, which is from a year and a half ago. So the open source industry is following the closed source.
As the Fed plays coy, and we await their next move. Or to put it simply, the Fed needs to cut rates because the economy's running out of gas.
And I understand Chair Powell's statement that he wants to stay in his lane. Well, he didn't stay in his lane during COVID, and I don't blame him. He was encouraging fiscal spending, and that was totally appropriate. But now all of a sudden, we don't comment on fiscal policy. Well, you commented on it when you wanted them to be more stimulative. You know, somebody's got to say something. It is interesting, since my last interview here in October, there do seem to be a lot more recognition by various people I see on your shows and elsewhere of the fiscal situation facing us. Everybody seems to get it but Yellen, who just keeps spending and spending. And again, I think it's done politically because it's causing inflation, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out that the average American is getting hurt by the inflation.
It's another, I think, issue of being, things are going well, and then we totally overspent in terms of fiscally as well in Bidenomics.
Bidenomics, if I was a professor, I'd give them an F. Basically, they misdiagnosed COVID and thought we were going into a depression. The Fed did too. I worried about it too in early days. The Fed eventually pivoted, better late than never. Treasury is still acting like we're in a depression. It's interesting because I've studied the Great Depression, and you had a private sector crippled with debt with basically no new ideas. So interventionist policies were called for and were effective. The private sector could not be more different today than it was in the Great Depression. Their balance sheets are fine, they're healthy, and have you ever seen more innovative ideas that the private sector could take advantage of now? You've got blockchain, you've got AI, you've got the whole thing. All government needed to do was get out of their way and let them innovate. Instead, they've spent and spent and spent. And my new fear now is that spending and the resulting interest rates on the debt that's been created are going to crowd out some of the innovation that otherwise would have taken place. We've got a 7% budget deficit at full employment. It's unheard of. And this is when you've got grid spending, you have you've got defense spending, you have data center spending,
for AI.
And then, of course, you have green.
Yep.
So this spending is going to take place. You're going to build the capital stock. How do you build the capital stock when government is intruding with regulations and all this spending? And it's just sad because I think we're looking at one of the most exciting periods in terms of potential productivity and enhancing investments ever. And why we're spending like we're still in the Great Depression is beyond me. And they haven't stopped, as you know. They're trying to circumvent the Supreme Court to give money to kids who had the opportunity to go to college, who haven't repaid their loans. You know, Harlem Children's Zone, our motto was always, get them into college so they have a shot. These are kids that went into college, and we're talking about spending hundreds of billions of dollars to put in their pockets. I assume it's because of the election. They're now floating ideas for Fannie and Freddie to change the rules so you can refinance. You can take out a second lien mortgage, and you get to keep the rate on the first mortgage at whatever you did during COVID. There's one spending program or another. We don't need spending right now. We just need the government to get out of the way and let the private sector do its thing.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American,
I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting at more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. I hate when countries go off the dollar. I would not allow countries to go off the dollar, because when we lose that standard, that will be like losing a revolutionary war. That will be a hit to our country, just like losing a war. And we can't let that happen. And too many countries now are fighting to get off the dollar.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get on stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Yahshua and Grandma Tanya save New York. From COVID 33, Part 3. King Yahshua and Grandma Tanya goes to China.
It's mandatory to get Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.